Hello and welcome to Lorbek Luxury Cars. I'm Harry and today we've got for you two of the most hardcore road-going Porsche 911s money can buy. The 911 GT3 CS and GT3 RS. Get on it! Now the GT3 is a stripped out, hardcore version of the 911 and both of these examples are even more stripped out, even more hardcore versions of the GT3 on which they're based. Now the GT3 RS has 305 kilowatts of power, it gets to 100 in just a shade over 4 seconds, and are hardcore track focused cars that you can use on the road. Now the GT3 we've got here is a regular GT with the option of the Club Sport pack. Now what you get in the Club Sport pack are just a few little bits and pieces. You get carbon fibre racing seats, a roll cage, just make it a more focused, track oriented car. But stepping over to the big daddy here, the GT3 RS, you get a little bit more. It's a hunkered down, lower, tighter version, stiffer, firmer, better for going around the corners. And in addition to the roll cage and the racing seats that you get in the CS, you also get an adjustable rear wing and a plexiglass roof for even more added lightness. How about that? Just to give you an idea of how hardcore the RS is, it's even lower than the regular GT3. Have a look how close it is to the ground. Great for the track, but it's not your best friend when it comes to speed bumps, unfortunately. Now we've got the basics down pat, it's time to decide which of these hardcore races we're going to take on the road first. Eeny, meeny, miny, Club Sport. Let's do that one. How about that for a noise? I mean, there's no more iconic noise than the wail of a Porsche Flat 6, particularly in the RS. Now, in addition to the regular GT3, this Club Sport has the racing bucket seats, like I mentioned just a bit earlier. It's got the 5-point racing harnesses, but it's also got the Sport Chrono Pack, which means you can time your laps if you feel so inclined. And just as we're sort of dawdling along here at somewhat leisurely rate because we've got a Volkswagen in front of us who's deciding to do 10Ks under the limit, I can pay a bit more attention to the way the car rides. And I have to say, for a car that's so track focused and so hunkered down, it really does ride quite well. I mean, it's a very compliant car. And if you're really into your driving and you love this sort of car, it is something that you could drive absolutely every day. I mean, it's still a Porsche 911 underneath, and that means it's still a very practical car. Only problem is you've lost 2 seats in the back with the roll cage, but I mean, who wants to take the kids anyway? Now, the thing that I really like about this GT3 and what makes it, that little bit different to everything else, it's just the small details. I mean, as I'm driving along, you're reminded of the fact that you're in a hardcore track-focused 911 because every time I look out the rear view mirror, I can see the rear spoiler, I can see the roll cage, and just those little things make it feel like a more special car, and it gives you that sort of thrill every time you look at it, knowing the potential this car has. And if you're going to own a car like this, you want it to feel that little bit special. I think those 2 additions really do make it that little bit special. Now, because I'm a big boy, I like to drive these cars with the sport button on and the traction control off. And there's very good reason for that, because you can make it do this. Oh, yes! There's no better smell than burnt rubber, I'll tell you. Now that we've given this one a little bit of a run round, let's go back and see what the Big Daddy does. Now let's really get this party started. Let's give the old RS a go. Now already I can feel this car is slightly different to the Club Sport. I mean, the RS is 25 centimetres wider in the back, so you've got more tyres on the road and just giving you that little bit of extra grip. It's also, because it's a little bit lower, it's just that little bit firmer on the road, so I'm just feeling every last detail on the road. It's like I feel like I could close my eyes and I'd know where to go. It's quite incredible how those two tiny little details amount to such a big difference in the way the car feels. It's really quite extraordinary. And even though I've got the traction control off, I feel like I've got enough confidence to really sink the boot in. I mean, the tail does slip out a little bit, but as soon as it does, you feel it straight away, and you just go and you just give it a bit of an oppie lock, and you're off and running. It's brilliant. It's just the handling. The only word I can come up with to describe the handling is telepathic. It's really, really quite something else. And it's very good fun to double clutch, and it just works so well. I mean, this gearbox is just the absolute knees of the beast. Now, the GT3 RS is one of only 1,168 examples built, making it a very, very rare car. And the colour scheme, these little bits of orange that you can see everywhere, are oranges specific to the GT3 RS. And now we're back to Melbourne traffic, and I guess it puts into perspective the realities of driving a car like this. I mean, it's no Rolls Royce inside, but sitting here, it's not that bad. It's not really that uncomfortable. I mean, this carbon fibre seat has very little in the way of padding, but it's just so well sculpted and so well designed that I could sit in this for hours and hours and hours and on end. And I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be sore. As a matter of fact, I know I wouldn't be sore, because if I was going to be sore, I'd well and truly be there by now. What a couple of incredible, mind-blowing cars. It's hard to believe that these cars can actually be used on the streets, because they're just so hardcore. But that's what makes them awesome. And if you want a bit of this awesome, you can come down to Lorbek Luxury Cars and buy the Club Sport for $239,000. Or the Big Daddy, the RS, for $399,990. Get around it.